Hey there folks, we're now on to part 5 of My Inner Life by Link's Queen, and this part's called The Wedding. It was the day of our wedding and I'd been nervous all day long. The time to walk down the aisle drew near and I felt a rush of nervousness run through me. But I was not going to let that stop my wedding day. I was in the bridal chamber with Impa and Princess Zelda. As Impa and Princess Zelda worked on my hair, I stared down at my dress, fingering with the lacy design at my waist. Alright, I know this is first paragraph, but I need to stop already. She mentions being nervous twice, which, yeah, understandable on the wedding day, but first and second sentence, she really don't need to mention the nervousness twice. And then she says, I was in the bridal chamber with Impa and Princess Zelda. As Impa and Princess Zelda worked on my hair, she should have really put as they worked on my hair, because there's no need for all those extra words that there really just ain't. Also, how quick has she decided to marry this guy? I really don't think as the majority of people had boned somebody once or twice and then suddenly think, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get married. Don't work that way. Okay, let's carry on. The dress was the most beautiful and the most expensive I'd ever seen. The king had spared no expense when he had it made. The top of the dress was a low V-cut with lace that crisscrossed in front of my breasts to hold them up, and a feathery lace design lined the edges. Interwoven in the lace was an intricate design of pearls, and the very centre was a gold Triforce design. The lace design V at the waist in a different lace pattern styled where the other left off. The other pattern was all of the Triforce design. Smaller gold Triforce symbols lined the bottom of the dress. The sleeves were see-through lace that ran from mid-arm all the way down to my wrist and attached at the middle finger. My veil had a full pearl design at the front and a small solid white Triforce designs lines the edges. That's not very good English. After I was fully dressed, all that was left was to finish my hair. Alright, I'll stop again. All this clothing design, it really does almost... It's nearly as bad as my Immortal. Who really cares? I mean, you just need a couple of sentences to briefly describe the dress, and then you should allow your reader to actually fill in the rest so that they can sort of imagine how beautiful this dress is. And the overuse of the Triforce symbol, if you really imagine it as she's actually written, that it would look like a stupid dress with all them Triforces. Seriously. And the king spared no expense. Well, considering as he thinks of Jenna as a daughter and this as a Mary Sue, no, you'd think not. So that was a fairly predictable addition. Let's carry on. Impa stopped working on my hair and let Zelda finish it. He walked over to a table and picked something up. When she came back and handed me a gold choker that had a Triforce charm with a diamond dangling in the centre, I looked up at Impa while I fingered it. It was very beautiful. I started to say something, but Impa interrupted me. It will look beautiful on you. She took it, and the Sheikah smiled as she fastened it round my neck, and I smiled back at her. Thank you, Impa. It's very beautiful. Okay, so this paragraph right here. Zelda is now reduced to being the person doing her hair. Never mind that this is the princess of HYRULE. She's now Mary Sue's hairdresser. Oh. Oh no. You can't put a character like Princess Zelda as being a hairdresser. You know, you would have someone from Castletown doing that. Someone from Kakariko doing that, but the princess would have her own hairdresser. And doesn't Zelda have to get ready herself to attend this wedding? She's not going to be doing her fucking hair. That is just... That just shows how self-centered this Mary Sue actually is. She has a princess doing her hair for her. And the princess's attendant sorting out putting jewellery on for... She can put her own bloody jewellery on, for God's sake. Never mind. Let's continue. Just then, Princess Zelda said she was done with my hair. I walked over a mirror to take a look. The sides of my hair were done into a halo braid. The back of my hair was done up into 4 smaller braids that looped up and attached to the back of the halo braid. A silvery lace ran from the front of my hair to the back of my head and then round the 4 smaller braids. As I touched my hair with my hand, I turned to look at Princess Zelda and smiled at her. "Thank you so much, I just love it," I cooed as she smiled back. Alright then, that's just more Suvianism. That's way too much description. All that she needed was a couple of sentences to say she looked in the mirror and that her hair looked beautiful because it was in a halo braid pattern. That would have been sufficient. But no, we have to have all of this description. It's as bad as my Immortal for the description, seriously. Okay, let's carry on. As Princess Zelda looked me over, she said something was missing. After thinking a bit, she turned and walked over to her vanity and opened up a small jewellery box. She picked something up out of it and closed the jewellery box lid and walked back over to me. Taking my left hand, she held up my hand and fastened a beautiful gold bracelet around my wrist. Looking at it, I could tell it was real expensive. The bracelet was of pure solid gold. At the centre was a Triforce charm. Diamonds lined the edges of the bracelets and rubies lined the inner part. At the centre of the Triforce charm was an emerald. I looked back up at Princess Zelda and she smiled a kind of sad smile. "It was my mother's, but I want you to have it," she said with a hint of sadness in her voice. A blank look crossed my face as I looked down at the bracelet. I cannot accept this," I said as I held my wrist back out at her. The Princess Zelda blinked in surprise. "Nonsense! Mother would have done the same thing if she were here. Besides, I want you to have it. It looks beautiful on you." "Take it, and that's an order." Emperor nodded in agreement and I smiled back. "Thank you so much," I said as I hugged my friend. Satisfied with how I looked, we got my bouquet and headed towards the courtyard. Alright, I've got to stop again. Oh dear, dear, dear. So, she's not even really part of the royal family, and yet she's got Zelda's mother's bracelet. Because, you see, the Princess of Hyrule gives jewellery to her friends all the time. Not. Oh, God. More Triforce symbols as well. I'm just completely baffled by the sheer stupidity of this. Really, I mean, the royal family don't, generally speaking, go handing out their jewellery, the crown jewels, if you were, to other people. So, no. No. Okay, let's carry on. The wedding was about to begin. There was a loud bustle as people tried to find their seats. Everyone in Hyrule had attended. Even all of the sages had to attend. The king would settle for no less. All of Hyrule was going to witness Link and I being wed. As the crowd began to settle down, the king came to my side. Since he was like a father to me, he was going to be the one who was giving me away to Link. I started to get nervous again as the wedding music began to play. First the flower girl went out. As she spread the flower petals along the red carpet, she looked like a little angel. I hoped that the day when Link and I had children, we would have a girl as pretty as her. Then I watched as all of my bridesmaids walked out one by one with the ushers. Next I saw Link being walked out with Princess Zelda. He looked so handsome dressed in prince clothes as he walked down the aisle. When he reached the altar and took his place, it was my turn to walk. Taking the king's arm, we began to walk down the aisle. As we walked, my eyes darted around the room. The nervousness rushed over me. Then my eyes landed on Link. I could see his beautiful smile, but since I was nervous, I was glad Link could not see my face from underneath my veil. When we reached the altar, I took my place at Link's side. Zelda, my maid of honour, was to my left, and Darunia, Link's best man, was to his right. Before I fixed my eyes forward, I looked at Link from the corner of my eye. Man, how I loved him. Then the preacher began to speak. Okay, I've got to stop again here. The king has actually forced everybody to attend this wedding. It's not an option. I mean, you know, you couldn't have just gone to the pub in Castletown or the inn in Kakariko instead. You have to attend this wedding because Mary Sue is so important that the king will settle for no less. Jeez, give me a break on that. That's just how self-absorbed this is. And this is the first time that Darunia has been mentioned in this story. I mean, oh God, I've just noticed the spelling mistake. She didn't even spell it as Darunia, she spelled it as Dorina. Dorina, folks, who's been renamed. Oh dear, let's carry on. We have gathered here today to witness this man and woman being joined in holy matrimony. This is a special time, a holy time when a man and a woman come together and are joined under the witness of God. May your marriage bring long life and happiness. Do you, Link, take this woman to be your wife, to love, to hold, to cherish, in sickness and in health, until death you do part? Yes, I do, Link responded. And do you, Jenna, take this man to be your husband, to love, to hold, to cherish, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? Yes, yes, I do, I said softly. The rings, please. The preacher gestured for the ring bearer to bring over the rings. We were handed each other's rings. We were told to give each other our personal vows. Taking my left hand, Link slid the ring on my finger. With this ring I thee wed, Link said with passion. Then I took his left hand and slid the ring on his finger. With this ring I thee wed, I said as I looked deeply into his eyes. Alright, that paragraph does sound like a normal wedding, but a major flaw here. The religion of HYRULE is polytheistic. There are 3 goddesses. There is not one god. So why in the middle of HYRULE do we have this Christianized wedding? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And it makes no sense because quite clearly she didn't think that the 3 goddesses, you know, would have anything to do with this wedding. You know, the whole Triforce thing, the 3 golden goddesses. Since this game is based on Ocarina of Time, the whole fic is based in the Ocarina of Time world, we have to realise that the deities being mentioned should be Din, Nehru and Farore. Oh, that is so inconsistent. So inconsistent. How do you write anything about HYRULE's weddings and not take into account the national religion of HYRULE? Alright, sad as it is, let's carry on. When we looked down at the preacher and he finished the ceremony, if there is anyone who thinks that this man and woman should not be joined, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. After a moment of silence, the preacher spoke again. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may now kiss the bride. Gently, Link lifted my veil, and for a moment we stared deeply into each other's eyes. Then I closed my eyes as he gently took me into his arms and gently pressed his lips on mine. Then everyone started clapping, and we made our marriage final. I felt a rush of happiness run through me. It felt warm like the sun. As we kissed, everything was silent. Only the sound of our hearts beating together was heard. This was the happiest day of my life. Next, I gestured for all of my bridesmaids and my maid of honour to gather around behind me. Then I took my back and I threw the bouquet over my shoulder. Everyone reached to grab it, but it was Princess Zelda that caught it. I looked at her and a smile crossed my rosy face as I winked. She would be the next to wed. Then I looked at Link, smiled at him and took his arm. He led me out towards the reception hall as everyone threw the rose petals over us. The reception hall was set quite beautifully. There were flower displays, white dove symbols interlocked with the triforce lined the walls. There were white candles lining the room and a huge wedding cake sat in the centre. As everyone filled in to the room, Link and I went over to the cake and stood beside it. The music began to play as Link and I took the knife and cut the cake. We took a piece and fed it to each other. He missed my mouth and got some on my face. Next thing I knew, we had cake all over our faces. As I giggled and smeared some on his nose, people laughed at the funny sight, and I smiled at Link as we started whipping the cake off our faces. Oh God, there were 2 goblets sitting by the cake and a bottle of champagne next to them. Link popped the cork and poured the champagne into the goblets. He put the bottle down, and we picked up the goblets, interlocking arms, and drank from each other's cups. Everyone clapped and then made a toast to our marriage. May your life together bring happiness and new experiences, Zelda says as she raised the goblet high. Hear, hear, someone else yelled. Then the music changed into a dance, and everyone crowded into the ballroom. Link led me by the hand, and the crowd formed a circle around us as we began to dance together. As I danced with Link, I felt like I was dancing in the air, felt light as a feather. I got into the music and my thoughts drifted, and I begun to flow in unison with Link's body. He took the lead and I let myself go with the flow. As I looked into his beautiful dark eyes, there was passion flickering in them. His eyes made me melt in his arms and we danced together. I felt at peace. When we were done dancing, it was time for the wedding song to be played. Okay. That just seems to describe like a typical wedding reception party that you might accept, but seriously, there was one extremely amusing error there. Not wiping cake off your face, but whipping cake off your face. I'd love to see how you'd actually attempt to do that, but there you go. Okay, let's carry on. Link had found someone to sing our wedding song. A beautiful young red-headed girl named Melon from Lon Lon Ranch was to sing for us. She got up on the platform and started to sing, Your love floats on the wing of a dove. Melon's voice was very beautiful. As she sung the song, it moved me. I moved close to Link and laid my head on his shoulder. He took his arm and put it round me as Melon continued to sing. The song was so moving that tears of happiness began to stream down my face. I looked deeply into Link's deep blue eyes and whispered to him that he was my everything, my world. I saw love in his eyes, in his facial expressions. He brought my face closer to his and told me that I was his one true love, his first intimately, and his world. His passion made me feel good inside, warming my soul. I felt like the sky was the limit. And when I was with him, I felt like flying. Okay, that's... Okay, let's just stop right here. The only thing that Malin actually sings in the game itself is Epona's song. And the story behind that song is that Malin's mother actually taught it to her, and it's a song that calms down the young foal Epona. Of course, Link learns to play it on his ocarina, and that song actually helps him to get Epona away from the Lon Lon Ranch. A bit later in the game, you know, it's a sort of a side quest. You can collect Epona at any time once you're an adult, but no, that's the only thing she sings. So she wouldn't really be singing anything else. Oh, God almighty. No, this is just... It's starting to get weirder by the minute. Okay, so we'll carry on now. At the end, it was time for Link and I to leave for our honeymoon. As we walked out of the castle and to the awaited rusty brown mare, the king and Zelda had one last gift to give. Zelda walked up to me and took my hand and placed an ocarina in it and closed my fingers around it. I want you to have this as my gift to you both. I looked at it and Link's face grew in surprise. Are you sure? Link looked at her squarely. I know that these are the keys to the door of time, but I think it would be safer with both of you, Zelda replied. And with a reassured look in her eyes, I looked at Link, since he knew I was confused. This is what Ganondorf used to trick me into opening the doors to the Sacred Realm, Link said. As remembered that day, he never forgot it. I remembered what I was told, the stories of Ganondorf. But Link and I, holding the keys, might be safer. Thank you, we will take good care of it, I said, as I hugged her and she smiled. Then the king hugged me and gave Link a pat on the back and a wink. I knew what he meant by that. Then we went to the horse that was waiting for us. Link carried me to the saddle. The horse was Epona. There was a just married sign tied to the saddle over Epona's behind. Coloured strings of yarn hung from the back of the saddle and from the bottom of the sign. Link lifted me up into the saddle and then mounted in front of me. I threw my arms around his waist as he checked to see if I was ready. Then he gently booted Epona in the ribs and we took off at a gallop. I could hear the king and Zelda saying goodbye as we rode, but soon their voices drifted into the distance. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. Right, so now it's not just Jenna that boots horses in the legs. Apparently Link's doing it as well, but now he's booting Epona in the ribs. Why is Epona actually carrying both of them? Epona wouldn't be strong enough to take off at a gallop carrying two people. Oh, she obviously... I mean, I don't know a lot about horses, but I know that you shouldn't mount two people on one horse. Jesus bloody Christ. Oh, dear me. And they've just given them the Ocarina of Time to keep as a present, saying as it would be safe with them. Okay, so it's now safer with Link and Mary Sue than it is under God in Hyrule Castle that is well protected by a shitload of gods. Yeah, it's so safer away from the castle, isn't it? Think about it. No. Oh, why would they need to have it? Surely, with Ganondorf being trapped inside the other realm, surely it's safe for Link not to have that particular ocarina. Because, I mean, what if it was to get nicked or he mislaid it or something like that? They would not have given him the Ocarina of Time back. It's one of the... Not only is it a special possession of the royal family, but like I say, there's all that risk associated with it. Oh, but if you remember, he's making a house in the Lost Woods. Oh. You wouldn't try to hide something like, even in the Lost Woods, it's still not as safe as Hyrule Castle, there's no way. So, that is the nonsense for this episode, ladies and gents, so I think I'll conclude this one. And that's pretty much it, thank you.